Hello students, welcome to Pathak's Computer Academy online classes. In the previous class, we discussed introduction to e-commerce and done with unit 3. Today we will start unit 4 that is related to Python programming and Scratch programming. So first of all, we will look Python programming. So let's start. So the content today we covered the basic introduction to Python, revision of Python basics that I already discussed in class 9th. Okay. After that, we look upon conditional statement. And then based on conditional statement, we will see some simple programs of Python. Clear? So the introduction. I already discussed in class 9 that Python is interpreted, object-oriented, high-level programming language. So what is this? As you know that to interact with the computer hardware, we need a mediator through which we can pass our instructions, and that mediator converted our instruction into machine language. So in programming language, it is known as translator. And there are three types of translator. We know that. First one is assembler, that converted assembly language into machine language. Second one is compiler, that converted your whole program into machine language at once. And at last, there is an interpreter which converted your program line by line. So Python is interpreted. Clear? Next one is object oriented. What it means? It means everything written in Python programming are in the form of an object. Either you will create a variable or you are going to use any function. All these things are in the form of an object. That's why Python is an object-oriented programming language. And the last one is high-level language. As we know that we have to write program in English language. So English language is a high-level programming language. So I think it is very clear to you. So move on. As we know that Python is created by Rossum and released in 1991. But nowadays it is become famous. Next point is very important. As I already discussed that there is no compilation step. Instead of this, it uses edit, test, debug cycle. What it means? It means you write a program, run the program, the interpreter run your program line by line, and if in the line there is no mistake, it is converted into machine language and run and move to the next line. And at that moment, if there is a mistake, then you have to debug and move on throughout the program. That's why it is a edit, test, debug cycle. Clear? So I'm not going to revise Python basics. I already created a detailed video on this. You can go in my channel, Partner's Computer Academy, and from there you can click on this link. You will get my video that is related to basics of Python, where you'll learn features of Python. What are the main features of Python? How to set up Python environment, okay? How to install, okay? All are these things. Next, basic syntax. What are identifiers? What are keywords? And many more. And at last, you will learn what are the operators that can be used in Python. Clear? So here you can see that this is the video for 9th class students. Here I covered all the basics of programming related to Python in around 1 hour. So you can go through this. Now move on. So I'm going to discuss further. So after learning operators, the next topic is conditional statement. So what is conditional statement? Sometimes there is a need to take a decision about what is to be done if something will happen, and if something will not happen, then what to do. Clear? So for this, if a condition is true, the code executes. Otherwise, control passes to the next statement. That's all. There's no other logic. So what are the types? In Python, there is if statement. There is if statement is true, then the block of the code will execute. Otherwise, move on to the next statement. Simple. But there is another statement known as if else. If the condition written over if is false, then what is to be done? It is written in the else block. If there is a need that at some moment there are two ways from one position, and we have to move or choose one path based on some condition, then we can use if else statement. And the last one is nested if statement. Here you can put various conditions one by one if there is a need in your program. But here you have to very clear that there is a small change in nested if else statement. I will cover, don't worry, rather than used in C or C++. Clear? So if statement. So this is the flow diagram. Flow of data comes here. Condition will be checked. If condition is true, the block of code, either one statement or more, are executed. Otherwise, move to the next statement. Simple. And as you know that I already discussed, if you want to put something in a block, then in Python indentation is to be used here. Clear? If condition is true, then one statement or more than one statement are after some white spaces. In C or C++, you have to use what? Curly braces if you want to put a block of statement. So this is the one difference between C and Python. So here you can see the example. If a variable A is 10 and the value of B is 20. So I'm going to test it. If B is greater than A, you have to put colon. Okay. Otherwise, there will be a syntax error. So I have to print B is greater than A. I already told you. Here is the point. Python relies on indentation. Okay. To define the scope in the code. Otherwise, in the other programming language, we use curly brackets for this purpose. Okay. Here you can see that A is equal to 10, B is equal to 20, and if B is greater than A, colon, then there is no portion related to if. This is another part of your program. You will get an error. It should be after some tab or spaces, whatever you can take. Again, if else, same as it is, condition will be checked. Okay. Condition will be checked. If true, this part of the block will be executed. Otherwise, else part of the block will be executed. Okay. And the syntax is very simple here. If expression will be true, then these statements are executed. Otherwise, else part of statement will be executed. Here, the example, A is equal to 20, B is equal to 10. If B is greater than A, what will happen? Yes, B is not greater than A. Then what will happen? Else part will be executed. Okay, either if or else part will be executed in if else statement. Okay, next one is nested if. Here, what I am talking about earlier. What is the difference between C or C++ and Python? If you want to put another condition, then you have to put elif, not else if. In other language, you have to write else if, but here simply elif. So here is the syntax. If expression to condition satisfied, then this statement will execute. Otherwise, again, this condition will be checked. This one. Otherwise, if all the condition are false, then else statement will be executed. So here is the example. A is equal to 20, B is equal to 10. If B is greater than 10, so what will happen? No, B is not greater than A. So it will move on to the next condition. Elif, whether A is equal to B? No. So else part will be executed. So for these purposes, you can use nested. Next topic is past statement. Sometimes there is a need that you know that there is a block, surely, but you don't know what will happen when this expression will be true. So to write the program, if this condition is true, then you can use in Python pass statement. Okay. Pass statement simply denotes an empty statement that for some reason no statement is to be executed and move on to the next statement. That's all. This pass statement is generally used by developers. Okay, because sometimes they unable to know what the logic is to be put when this expression will be true. So they move on to the next step so that time is not wasted, and when the logic is clear, then they rub off the past statement and write the logic. Simple. So that's all for the theory related to conditional statement. Now I am going to show you some simple program related to conditional statement. So write a program to check whether a number entered by user is even or no, odd. To input some value from the user or keyword, in Python, there is a function input you have to use. And the argument, whatever you will pass in input function, will flash on in your screen. And whatever the value you will give, it will always treated as a string form. So you have to convert it into a proper form so that your calculation can be executed. So I converted whatever you will enter the value, it will convert it into integer. And after that, it will assign to variable. Now my logic start here. What the logic for even and odd? It's very simple. If given number is divided by 2 and the remainder will 0, then that number is even. Otherwise, odd. So to find out the remainder, I already discussed in 9th class video that percentile is used for finding the remainder. So it is very simple. Now I'm going to show you practically. I'm going to open a Python console. I'm going to open a new file. So what is to be done? A number is to be taken, a variable in which I will take a method input and pass a message, enter a number. Very simple. Okay. Now, next point is I have to put a logic. Simple. If, what if num percentile 2 is equivalent to 0, then what is to be done? Here you can see that as soon as I press the enter button, it automatically take a indentation part. Here you can see that. So it means whatever the lines I will put here, it is the block of if. So I'm going to print given number is even. Okay. Else, what is to be done? Print given number is odd. That's all. My program is completed. Now I'm going to run it. So for running, I have to press F5. Here, what is the message is printed? Source must be saved. Okay. So I have to save that file first of all. Now, let's him even odd. Okay. And just clear here what is shown here, missing parenthesis. So in version 3.0 and above, you have to give a parenthesis in print. In 2.7, Python 2.7 version, you can neglect it. That's why it gives an error. Now I'm going to again run it. Here, my program started. Enter a number. Now I am going to give a 5 and press enter. Given number is odd. Clear? Again, now let us check run for the even number, whether it is given the correct message or not. Now 6, given number is even. That's all. It's very simple programming. Okay. Next one is write a program to calculate the electricity bill. So how to calculate the electricity bill? Based on some criteria. Criteria is given here. If the unit is lesser than 100, then there will be no charge. 100 to 200, 5 rupees per unit. After 200 rupees, 10 rupees per unit. Clear? So what is to be done? I have given a variable amount. Now I'm going to ask how many electric unit you have consumed. So the same logic, input method is used, and whatever the value is entered by the user should be converted into an integer, and then value is to be given to a particular variable. Now this logic is related to the calculating the bill. If NU is lesser than or equal to 100, what will be the amount? Amount will is no charge. So amount is equal to 0. And if NU is greater than 100, NU is lesser than or equal to 200, what is to be done? First of all, for first 100 unit, there will be no charge. And after that, whatever the unit came or left is to be multiplied by 5. So NU minus 100 into 5 is given to amount. And at last, if NU is greater than 100, what is to be done? From 100 to 200, there will be 100 units. Okay. So 100 into 5, 500. 500 will be calculated, as simple as it is. Now, whatever the extra more than 200 is to be minus nu minus 200 into 10. So this will be the actual amount. So I think it is very clear. Now I'm not going to show you practically. Clear? This is the next one. Again, a very simple one. This example I have taken because of elif, nested if else. So write a program to accept a number from 1 to 7. Okay. And based on that number, you have to print whether it is Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday up to Saturday. So 1 for Sunday, 2 for Monday, and so on. So what is to be done? First of all, I have to take an input from the user. Then I have to put a logic here. If num is equal to 1, print Sunday. Again, if one value is not passed, so next condition is to be checked. If whether num is equal to 2, then you have to print Monday, and so on up to Saturday. And sometime user entered other than 1 to 7, then you have to print something. So that message will be printed on else part. So it is very easy. I'm going to take on another one. This is very important program for 10th class student. Write a program to check whether an year is leap year or not. So what is leap year? Leap year is that year in which February month is of 29 days. Otherwise, you know that each year is, in each year, February is of 28 of month. So how to calculate? So there is a mathematics, and that mathematics is to be put in your logic through conditional statement. So what is the logic? First line is as simple as that. You have to ask the year. Okay. Next, the condition. Whether year percentile 100 is equal to 0. If it is so, if the remainder is 0, then you have to again check nested if whether year is also properly divided by 400. If so, if these two condition is true, then that year is a leap year. Otherwise, if year is divided by 100 but not fully divided by 400, then entered year is not a leap year. Next condition. First condition is false. Okay. Year is not divisible by 100. Then it came down to the else part. So you have to check if year is divided by 4 and the remainder came 0. If so, then entered year is leap year. Otherwise, again, it is not a leap. You can check by writing the program. Okay. So that's all for today. Today we learned conditional statements in Python. If else, nested if else. So you have to think about your program, which type of conditional statement is needed, whether it can be completed with if or if else or nested if else. Okay. In the next class, we will start loops in Python in detail. Thank you so much.